What's happening, Bears fans? Welcome in to the Take the North podcast, along with Dan Wiederer of The Athletic. I am Mark Grote of Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. Walkthrough day for the Bears, so we did not get to have eyes on what the Bears were doing today, but we will have plenty to discuss today, including the news that the starters will play on Friday. I've got some really good audio from Braxton Jones, which you're not going to hear anywhere else but right here on the Take the North podcast. We will discuss the offensive line, and it is my pleasure now to bring in from The Athletic. We're not playing games anymore. Dan Wiederer is whole again. He has a job again after just lollygagging at Soldier Field on Sunday night during that 38-0 win over the Buffalo Bills.
It's official now. I am a member of The Athletic, Grote. We teased it for a while, and the official announcement came out on Monday. I'm pumped. I am legitimately pumped to make this move, and it's very exciting. And it's hopefully it will be accompanied by some Bears football that's a little more exciting in the months ahead, because we'll have an opportunity to really go to some new places with it. Look, like we've had a couple days now to digest that 38-0 trouncing of the AFC powerhouse Buffalo Bills. I think the Bears have a lot in that film that they can feel good about, and now you just have to kind of to stack days together and understand the context of that game as we tried to lay out on Sunday, and now try to build on it in a number of different ways, including trying to stabilize your offensive line before we get to the regular season.
In the smallest way possible, proportionate to it being preseason and not the regular season. I think everybody, including you and I, and everybody that listens to and watches the Take the North podcast, deserves to sit on a 38-0 win after all the sitting on bad losses that we had to deal with every week. Week 6 and a loss, 6 losses in a row, 7 losses in a row, weird things going on at Haugh, bad things happening at Haugh. So it is like last year, I think it really caught up with you and I. It caught up with no doubt with Bears fans, with everybody who talked about the Bears. Those were some rugged weeks. So it's preseason. My calendar still says August, but a 38-0 win featuring a terrific first drive for Caleb Williams and the offense, and good stuff from your backup quarterback. I'm still feeling thumbs upsy about that. So it is nice to be living in this space, if only for a few more days.
Yeah, for sure. And again, the context is key here, and you understand what they did it against and what time of year they did it at. Now you just got to keep stacking them together. You know, I think Ben post game was very to the point in saying, look, like this is about establishing a play style. We want to play hard. We want to be on the details. And a lot of that stuff showed up on Sunday night against the Bills. We talked to Dennis Allen today. He was almost as enthused about the joint practice on Friday as you could be about the game that we saw on Sunday night, because the defense played really well. And I asked him specifically, what were your takeaways from that afternoon playing against Josh Allen, who did not play on Sunday night. And he said his biggest takeaway was that we belonged on that field with the reigning MVP and a high-powered Bills offense. And the Bears showed out right in that practice session. And then obviously the first unit defense only got 3 plays on the field on Sunday before they made their way to the sideline. So that meant that the Friday practice against the Bills was definitely more compelling and more meaningful. And the fact that they stood up and made their presence felt in that forum, I think was encouraging to Dennis Allen.
Yeah, it should be. No doubt about it. And the defense has remained good throughout training camp, throughout these 2 preseason games. And I do wonder, and let's make this very clear, we found out that the starters will play Friday at Kansas City through Kay Adams of the Up and Adams show. Don't give it to the reporters that are at Haugh Hall. Make sure Kay Adams has what she needs, and that she can let us know that the starters are playing. So the starters are playing. Are you surprised by that at all, Dan?
I'm not. Ben sort of hinted at it on Sunday night, and I think that there's a little bit to gain here from getting a little bit more game action, a little more routine prep, as he noted the other night about going on the road and just kind of feeling that out. I wouldn't expect to see them for very long. My guess currently, and this is just a guess, is that the offensive guys won't play beyond the first quarter. And we'll see if that changes at all. But yeah, Ben Johnson, who recently in one of our most recent episodes, I was kind of propping up as a potential Good Guy Award nominee. He's becoming a serial bean spiller to the podcast with some of this news. It doesn't bother me that much. This is preseason playing time we're talking about. But over time, I'm hopeful, as you sort of put in your tone there a couple minutes ago, that the people that are out here every day get a little bit of a reward for being out here every day and not just popping in and getting some beans spilled in their lap, which is what we've had a couple weeks ago.
So it's the way the media world works these days, and you and I would be dancing around if it was our podcast that something was revealed.
We got a book then, just so that we can get some news, right? Like we got to get them on here. And
then, come on, studs. Let's get some of these guys. Let's get them on our podcast. Let's have Take the North break news. No, we get to be as irreverent as possible. If the big name people are afraid of our podcast, then we just get to continue to be irreverent and free. We want as many Bears as possible. But yeah, no, I'm happy that they are, if nothing else, symbolically. And you're right. I mean, the starters only played 2 drives. At least, I mean, the Caleb Williams portion of it. I know that, in the last game. So for them to probably 1 drive, I wouldn't be surprised unless it's a clunky drive. It might be 1 drive and out, but I like it just to get that feeling, if nothing else at all, because, one thing that I know that NFL coaches, and particularly the last 2 Bears coaches, have talked about the value of the dual practices. And I love the dual practices, but there is still nothing like being in an actual stadium against a different team with all the bells and the whistles and the video board and 49,000 in the stands. To me, Dan, that's way different from your dual controlled practice on the backfields of Haugh or wherever they do them.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's real football, right? Which means your quarterback can get hit, and it means the people with the football can get tackled, and so that we talked the other day about the Zacchaeus touchdown, little tease here. Read about the Zacchaeus touchdown and what it meant in The Athletic on Wednesday morning.
The Athletic, not the Tribune. Not the Tribune, in The Athletic.
It's in The Athletic. So what we talked about the other night was the significance of seeing Zacchaeus take that ball to the end zone with defenders who were trying to tackle him, and not just saying, oh, well, they would have had him. Well, they didn't have him. He got across the goal line and they had an end zone party. And so that's another element that's added into this. It'll be good to see. You got Andy Reid, you got Steve Spagnuolo, you're matching wits over there with the Chiefs, and even if it's just for a small little cameo, it'll be good to see that.
No doubt. So that's what's going down on Friday, and we'll continue to preview that game as we get closer to it. And Dan and I will be in attendance and talking to you after it, like we do. Again, just to point out, the close walkthrough as we're talking to you in this podcast. So there's nothing to report on anything that we saw on the field. We were not allowed to see what was on the field. They do this from time to time. The Bears taking it easy because of the fast turnaround to the Friday game in Kansas City. One of the things, Dan, that I wanted to play for you is I had a chance. We were talking about how we have difficulty deciding when we are in the locker room after these games. Do we stay in the locker room? Do we run to the podium to talk to the head coach? And it's always a tough decision. It kind of worked out well, Dan, because you went to the podium and you were able to get some great insight from Ben Johnson and the guys that stepped up there. I ended up staying in the locker room, and I got a chance to talk to Braxton Jones. There was one other reporter with me, so it wasn't necessarily exclusive, but pretty damn close in terms of the audio being played. And the first thing I want to play for you from Braxton Jones, Dan, and definitely get your opinions on what he said, because I thought it was fairly interesting to hear, and I'll let you hear my thoughts as well. But basically the spirit, I think I left my question on there, but the spirit of the question is Braxton Jones and the rest of those left tackles being transparently, challenged and told that it ain't good enough yet by Ben Johnson and Dan Rochar. Here is Braxton Jones on Take the North. What goes through your mind, or what is your reaction when you hear your head coach, Ben Johnson, saying that nobody has grabbed that left tackle position yet?
It's the nature of the game. I can't, take it to heart. All it is for me is, I got to go out there and work harder. And more than anything, it's just show myself clarity, show myself what I need to do to improve to be honest, I don't want to look too hard on it or give myself too much of a gap to close or whatever. But eight months ago, I did severely break my ankle. And so I'm still working, and I'm doing a lot of things for myself, trying to show myself. And then obviously showing myself more than anything is going to allow these coaches to see. But at the end of the day, when he says things like that, it's, totally totally fine. Obviously, if you are a competitor, it fires a little bit in you, and that's completely fine. I love it, and I think it just brings a better competitive nature for sure.
So the injury thing, which you brought up, obviously. So relative to that, do you feel like you're where you should be because of that? Is that partly what you're saying?
I personally, I think I'm way ahead of just the progression of how it went for me personally, and just the mental battle it was. Like I said, I don't want to be too down on her or anything like that, but the mental battle was huge for me, and to be where I'm at, back on the field, putting good reps out there, good film out there still, at least being critical of myself too. I need to clean up some things, but just still working on that and getting back is, for me, myself, and what I've done, it's unbelievable. And so, just continue working through that and getting better each and every week.
What'd you think about that, Dan?
Well, look, first of all, good job behind the scenes there of getting some real introspective thought from Braxton Jones. And I thought that he reminded me that you're never going to question Braxton Jones's commitment. You're never going to question his determination. What we are going to question in the short term anyway is he capable of playing the left tackle position at a high level? And he seems like he's still working his way back into that headspace to try to get there, to feel like he can have full confidence in the strength of his ankle, that he can have full confidence in his technique, that he can go out there and be the type of, every drive presence that the Bears need him to be. I asked Ben Johnson specifically post-game on Sunday night what he needed to see more of from Braxton Jones over the next 2 weeks. And the first word that came out of his mouth was consistency. So that we've seen flashes of Braxton's old self, but there are times where it's just not all there. And so he's got to work through that. And I think that married up with some things that Dan Rochar said earlier in the week about, Braxton having a really, really good practice against the Dolphins and then coming back on Sunday in a game setting and being in some areas where it's like, this isn't good enough and this doesn't meet the standard here. And so this is kind of an ongoing tug of war for the Bears of trying to figure out where Braxton's at now, where he can get to soon, and what that means for the entire dynamic of their offensive line, which, as you and I have repeated over time, needs to be in a very healthy state when they welcome the Vikings to Soldier Field on September 8th.
Yeah, and I think that if fans listening right now, fair to be conflicted. Like if you're a P1 Bears fan, like you are so badly wanting to win, you're hearing that and going, oh man, Braxton ain't right still, and that's not good because he's probably your leading left tackle candidate right now. I still can't imagine that Theo Benedette has a chance to play against the Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football for his first NFL game. I can't see it. And then, what I really got out of that too, Dan, is that Braxton Jones is sitting there saying, yeah, I get where the coaches are coming from, but dude, 8 months ago, I severely broke my ankle. Those were his words, and him saying to be back where I am. He's essentially saying he's pretty proud of himself, and justifiably. I am not being critical of this man. It sucks the Bears don't have a left tackle, but he's saying I'm kind of ahead of where I should be, even if it doesn't look right. I broke my ankle in half. So that's what I'm hearing from Braxton Jones, that he's only going to take so much criticism because he's still trying to work back from this.
I forget the timelines, but this does take me back, 9-8 years, whenever it was, when Kyle Long was coming back from the devastating ankle injury. Remember when the ill-fated shovel pass to Paul Asike ended up landing on the back of Kyle Long's leg in Tampa, and that was a devastating career-altering injury for Kyle. And I do remember the next training camp and preseason as he was fighting the mental battle, the physical battle, trying to fight those battles at once where they're kind of commingling, and you're trying to find your way through that struggle. And it's hard. And people in the outside world don't give you credit for some of that mental fight that you put forth just to try to get yourself right to play at a high level in the highest league that professional football has to offer. So, look, like Braxton's going to continue to grind. Theo Benedette's going to continue to take advantage of whatever opportunities are given to him. He spoke to us today here at Ellis Hall and talked about his own confidence and being able to grow and have a fresh start under Ben Johnson and Dan Rochar, and being able to latch on to coaching and get their fresh perspective on his game. And so there's, kind of two guys running different races on the same track, trying to get across the finish line before the Vikings come to town. And that's something that Ben and the coaching staff have to process. And I would imagine that Friday night in Kansas City gives them another opportunity to test both those guys in the ways that they want to see each of them, individually tested.
And then it'd be amazing because then we're going to have an answer. We're getting really close.
Right. You need it.
Right?
Answer, right?
Yeah. The Bears are going to tell us who their left tackle is. And I think it will happen in short order because they're already behind where they thought they would be. And again, I'm disappointed the Bears don't have a left tackle, but I'll say it again. I'm just happy that they have been honest about the competition. They're not forcing anything in. They're being transparent about it. And it's an open tryout where nobody has grabbed the job and there's no reason to assign anybody to it until somebody does do that. One more cut from Braxton Jones here, Dan, and that's, of course, the obvious question to me anyway is, all right, you got the ankle thing, you're out there, but how are you going to get better right now, Braxton? Here we go.
You said in terms of improvements, you said get the pad level lower. What else are you focusing on right now?
Yeah, just my first step in general of a lot of things. It just needs to be a little bit quicker, and coach is on me too about it, and I love it. I think it's just the way they've been is just going to get the best out of Braxton Jones, and that's all I've wanted for my career. So just some simple things like that, throwing my hands and things like that, just being better in those areas are definitely big. But, just continuously cleaning those things up. And like I said, over time, those things will get cleaned up too. It's been a while since I've been playing football, but we're back rolling and have no excuses now. So
thank you, Braxton.
Been a while since I've played football, but there's no excuses right now. I'm just glad he didn't mention bull rush in that. Maybe those are things that he's doing to protect from the bull rush, but he didn't mention it.
No question. You and I talked before we came on the air about some other comments that Ben made post-game Sunday night about look, like you're going to lose in this league when you're playing left tackle against these highly paid, menacing pass rushers. You're going to lose reps. And his point was there's two things that go with that. Number one, how do you respond when you get beat? And two, if you lose, can you lose slower? Right. And that's one of those concepts of like, just make sure that if you get beat, it doesn't blow up the entire play, that you at least allow your very gifted quarterback to extend a play at a minimum and be able to make some things happen. So that's there for Braxton Jones now. And he's going to have to just continue down his path here and try to make the most of it with what's allowed.
Yeah. And, continue to refine the process and hopefully get Braxton Jones back to where he was to begin the season. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted right now at this very moment, Dan.
Cubs losing again? I see your eyes going up. Is it?
Yeah, no, the Cubs just won. They won the game on a double play. We are recording this on a Tuesday for all you Tuesday fans.
Doubleheader Tuesday, as you might know.
It is a doubleheader Tuesday.
Doubleheader Monday, which turned out to be singleheader Monday.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're trying it again today. Better than the 7-0 loss from the prior day. But it's a 2 games into a 5-game series for your Chicago Cubs.
Casey day, right? We got a little.
Owen Casey hit a home run. Yeah. Had a big 2-out RBI hit. So he's looked Daniel Palencia with a fist pumping save.
What was the final over there? It was 6-4 when I came down
6-4.
Here. That was the final. All right.
That is the final score. A 6-4 final score. What injuries, Dan, will we be needing to follow up on this week? And people listening to this on a Wednesday, where there are plenty of, I would say, injuries of consequence that we have to look forward to.
All of them.
Get updates on. Yeah.
First and foremost, you want to get an update on Terrell Smith, who obviously left with a pretty serious knee injury the other night. The backfield, we talked about all the guys that are beat up in the backfield, from Roshan Johnson to Travis Homer to Deion Hankins, and who's going to be available to carry the ball on Friday night against the Chiefs. That's something to look at. We're still keeping our eyes out for the starting defensive backs, which is Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon. Grote, I did see Jalen Johnson again today, getting my eyes on Jalen Johnson a lot in the last few weeks. And so
I like it.
In the right direction. I think the Bears would feel great if they're able to get him in position to be able to, if not even play a full workload, to at least give them some contributions in week 1. So that's the top of the list for injuries. And we'll go down that path.
Booker too. Did you mention Booker? Austin Booker.
Booker, Dom Robinson, those guys.
Yeah. Booker, Robinson. Who Booker had another sack in the game the other day. So hopefully we will get some clarity on that. One thing I noticed, Dan, real quick, on defense the other night was Dennis Allen. And look, guys try all sorts of different things. He was bringing a lot of heat from the secondary position, and a lot of times like bringing guys, letting them come free to the quarterback. And those are the kinds of things that obviously when you don't know if you have a guy that's going to get double-digit sacks, you have to get more creative. We saw some of that from Matt Eberflus. He loved to dial up a linebacker. He loved to dial up Kyler Gordon. It feels like, Dan, we're going to see a lot. Like I said, unless there is, you could do the standard inside rush and outside rush. Fine, that's the ideal in a 4-3. But it feels like we're going to get some creativity from Dennis Allen when this season really starts.
Yeah, well, and some of that creativity isn't necessarily in sending more than 4. It's about where you line these guys up. And they invested in Odangbo because they thought he could be a real, factor rushing from the inside. And we've seen periods during camp where they've moved Montez Sweat way out to the wide 9 and let him do some things there. And Montez Sweat has given Darnell Wright a handful of times. And so there's a lot to like about where Dennis Allen is at with this defense and how he feels like he can move some of the pieces they have around. I did think it was also interesting today on Tuesday, Grote, where he was talking about the depth of the interior defensive line. And you obviously have your starters in Grady Jarrett and Gervon Dexter. You have a basic starter in Andrew Billings, who's going to play a backup role, but is starting quality player. You've got Chris Williams, who they feel very strongly about.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Turner's coming back from the ankle injury he suffered early in camp. And so you're going to have some numbers game decisions to make there with what you do with your roster going into the regular season and how you structure that. And it's going to be fascinating to see how they put together that rotation and what that does. And that, guy I didn't mention there is Zach Pickens, who seems like he's probably headed for a cut here, just given the 5 names on the interior defensive line that I named that are clearly ahead of him right now.
And also to that end, really good to see Big Bill out there the other night collecting a sack. I mean, that guy was severely missed last year. While we're talking about the numbers game, and that's a great point, man, about the numbers on the defensive line, because of the nature of the position, offensive line, and because he was drafted in the 3rd round, is Karan Amagaji's place on this roster safe?
Because of the draft pedigree, you would say yes, right? But then this comes down to, again, a numbers game and where you feel like your roster's at. I do believe Amagaji played a little guard in Washington last year, right? Like, so the key to making the roster would be to have position flexibility, and be able to contribute in a different area wherever needed. But yeah, I mean, I think we're a week out now from the initial 53 being formed, and then you've got to play some chess, which teams often do about, you keep a guy for 2 or 3 days and then you get rid of them later and you can bring them back. There's so many little roster mechanics to the whole process that the deadline for the initial 53 and then the 53 that they actually take to their first practice of week 1 is going to be fascinating to watch the fluidity of all that and how it all shapes up.
Yeah, and there's always surprises along the way. Who knows if there's a late acquisition that is made by the Bears? There always is some fortifying, not necessarily the same, the big game guy, but all sorts of things are going to happen pretty fast here towards the end of the season. A light day today out at Hallis Hall.
I got one more thing for you here, though.
Oh yeah, nugget me. Yes,
if you're willing to dive down, it's less than a nugget, more of a reaction. I'm just curious what your reaction has been since Sunday night to the reaction to the Bears' performance. Obviously, the 38-0 eye-popping score has caught a lot of people's imagination. The way that the offense moved the ball down the field on the opening drive has gotten people excited. But you sit in a different chair the day after the game. You get a little bit of a different pulse on where things are at. How have you reacted since the game ended, and how have you reacted to the reaction since the game ended?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked this question, actually, because it's hilarious. You and I have been, I'll just say me for now. I've been more critical, I think, or not. I'm not afraid to be critical of the quarterback. So I have been hit with those criticisms. People think I'm negative and I'm too hard on the quarterback, or it's just the Caleb, the people, I don't even know if they're real, with some of the stuff that they say is measured as you and I are about it. We tell you what we see.
It's the QB1 protection program, right?
It really is.
It was a group that was real aggressive during the Fields era, and they seem to be even more aggressive now in the Caleb Williams era.
And more, I mean, like I was saying to some of the people around me in the press box, it's the first time in my life that I have blocked people on Twitter because of the conversation that goes, I could take Grote, you're wrong, but I'm not going to take Grote, you're a clown, you fucking idiot, you're wrong. It's like, all right, that's enough. That I mean, like, people just, there's no decorum out there. But here it is. The irony of it is, so on Monday with Layla and Marshall, and we were just glowing about what he did. I said, I needed to see that. I said, this is not the launching point for Caleb Williams. I needed to see that. I needed to see what I saw on Soldier Field. That first drive was the 7-play, 92-yard drive was terrific. And we went through the 29-yard pass to Cole Kmet, the 2nd and 15 to Colson Loveland, the Olamide Zaccheaus play. Here is, so you get a lot of semi-polite text saying, guys, come on, it's the preseason. Now I'm getting that. Now we get the other side. Come on, it's preseason, the pushback. And this is I got to read this text right here because it is quintessential of, now the people who are mad at me for being positive. For the love of Pete, calm your shit down. We all know preseason is meaningless. People forget every year. I hope they're better, but they lost 10 in a row last year. I feel like that texter is taking words out of my mouth because I'm the one who tells everybody that the reason I'm so critical of this team is because they've had 2 10-game losing streaks over the last 3 years. So that's what I try to tell people when I am trying to be calm and rational and give a lucid perspective. But then we get that side of it. And so while I'm going to keep trying to win, there's no winning in the quarterback critiquing world that we live in as Bears Report.
Adam Szynski has popped in here, which I love.
Oh, did you send that text?
No. I laugh at the structure of that text because they do the clean start for the love of Pete, which is like a clean version of a swear, followed by comb your shit.
Well, I will say, I editorialized a little bit because she did the calm your $! Exclamation point £! down. I decided to say what this texter was saying, and I think he was saying shit, but he's more of a Pete guy.
Okay, so that makes more sense. That makes more sense. So they kept it all clean, and you chose to swear for them. Okay,
I did because that's the mode I'm in right now, studs.
So
that's all I got. I just wanted to. I had to comment on that.
I was afraid you sent the text and you were.
I did too. I was afraid of that as well. Great.
I would have told you if that was me.
Oh man, I don't know, man. You're one of those Bears fans, man. I'm just kidding, studs. You've got rational thoughts too.
Grote, I will tell you that I've been in a few day war on Twitter based on that first quarter tweet I sent the other night that said the second drive wasn't as crisp as the first one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that set people off. And then today I doubled down on it. I watched the TV copy and the all 22 of all 13 plays that the Bears first team offense was out there. And I said, I stand by every word of this tweet. It was much less crisp, and everything that was involved in that second drive, which went 14 yards, not 92, was not up to par. And you should see the reaction to that. If you want to have fun, get in my social media mentions. But to your texter's point about the preseason being meaningless, I did have to bring this up. We are only a year removed from the Bears going to Buffalo and beating the Bills 33-6 in a preseason game in Buffalo, a game in which Caleb Williams had a deep explosive completion to Cole Kmet, 26 yards last year, a game in which he hit a screen pass to DeAndre Swift, which went for a huge gain. I think it was 42 yards, very similar to the Zaccheaus thing. Just get it out of your hands, get it into a playmaker and go. So you talk about that game, and I wished that people could go get the radio archives, the Twitter archives of that game and be like, oh, remember when it was like, oh, look what Shane Waldron's going to do with this young rookie quarterback. Caleb Williams has got his future. With 33-6, they went to Buffalo, played a good team and beat them, and it's all a mirage. So the preseason is pretty meaningless. I will say that the 13 snaps from Sunday all had their own story to them, and there was a lot to kind of dig in on each of those. And Caleb volunteered on the one that you took grief for on Sunday night on the miss to Adunze on third down second drive.
Yep.
Caleb said, look, I didn't trust what I saw. I flipped the protection. Free runner came through. And not only the free runner came through, but Caleb lost control. He got happy feet. And then paraphrasing what he said, he got happy feet. And you watch it on the film and he retreats, way more than he should. At this level, you need to just plant the back foot, throw a strike, put it on target, and let Rome's got to catch the football. There's no question. But we can't fall into the trap in mid-August of 2025 of blaming every incompletion by the starting quarterback on someone else, which seems to be what a portion of the ex-fan base, the QB protection program, let's coin that, and let's keep calling that out throughout the season. They're out of their mind with how protective they are of Caleb can do no wrong. Ben Johnson will get to know that group, and he'll be blunt and saying, no, this was the fault of the quarterback. You got to be better there. One more little perspective thing, because you may or may not remember this, but I asked Kevin Fishbane on Sunday night after the Bears went 92 yards for a touchdown. I said, do you remember what the Bears did on the opening drive of the 2014 season? Throwing that at you right now.
Wait, what was the?
What did the Bears do on the opening drive of the 2014 season?
2014. For the record, I was not covering the Bears in 2014. So off the top of my head, I really wish you would have said 2018. But 2014, I don't remember. No.
They were playing the Buffalo Bills. If you remember, the 2013 offense under Mark Trestman's watch set all sorts of franchise records for yards, and they were putting up production that the franchise had never seen offensively. And the opening drive of 2014, Jay Cutler took them down the field, 4 plays, 66 yards, touchdown, hit a big play to Alshon Jeffrey, threw a touchdown pass to Martellus Bennett. And if you could, again, find the Twitter timeline from that moment on a September Sunday in 2014, it was like, this offense is never going to be stopped. Look what they did last year, first drive of the season against the Bills. That game obviously ends with Jay Cutler throwing a terrible across-his-body interception into the gut of defensive tackle Kyle Williams. The Bears lose a game they should have never lost at home to the Buffalo Bills, and it was the start of a miserable season. It's just another cautionary tale of getting way too hyper about one drive. And I've seen, people in the media, people on television, people elsewhere just getting so worked up in the carnival of the 92-yard touchdown drive and forgetting that, okay, good offenses do that 4 or 5 times in a game, every game for 17 weeks, and that there's a consistency test that the Bears have to pass before the celebrations break out the way they've broken out. So yeah, that's my little wrap on what we saw Sunday. It was a very encouraging drive, and Caleb's 5 completions on that opening drive, very encouraging. Let's just keep it in perspective and understand what it all means.
Well, and then I will see those and raise you a couple more examples, although it wasn't preseason, but you talk about first drives of a season. I will go to 2018, and Mitch Trubisky had a perfect drive in Green Bay on his first drive ever as a quarterback. It was sweet. It was sick. I was on the sidelines, and I'm like, oh,
I recall now, yeah.
Wow. Like, because we didn't see it in the camp in 2018. Like, it was a pretty rugged, up and down 200 level courses training camp for Mitch, and then they just zipped right on down the field. Then, of course, there was the 6 touchdown game against Tampa Bay at Soldier Field, and that was when there was, there it is. It's clicked in. So, yeah, there's definitely room for cautionary tales. I was even thinking about the Justin Fields preseason game where he threw the little screen pass to DJ Moore, who took it like 80 yards. Weren't there like 2 80-yard plays right off the bat?
Oh, yeah. DJ
game?
Moore's first catch went the distance.
First catch.
It was like, DJ Moore's never going to be stopped. They got him.
and then our mantra was, after that, is sort of the collective media. It's like, well, it's let your playmakers make plays. Just get it to DJ Moore and these guys. And that's the idea, but it never did work. But so it is both ways. Caleb had a terrific drive. He was only out there for two series. Mm-hmm. So you take the information and then you surround it with the disclaimers, which we always offer you to do. If you don't like the truth about what we are seeing, then listen to a different podcast. I mean, there are podcasts that will soften it for you, that will be fearful of saying what they see, because they know that the feedback can be uproarious and it can hurt a little bit, but we'll continue to do it on the Take the North pod.
One last nugget, and we can unpack this further as we go. I'm giving you a little something from the head coach's mouth of something that they talk with their pass catchers about all the time. It's catch and knife. We're going to talk about catch and knife, for the rest of the season.
Okay.
And it's this idea that Ben hates watching pass catchers get the ball in their hands and run horizontally, that he wants the 3 or 4 yards that you can get immediately after catching the football, and he wants them going north and south. And I bring that up just because I think it's another example of the little things that are going to create production that the Bears offense hasn't had. And so you watch the Zacchaeus touchdown the other day, right? And it's a really well delivered ball by Caleb, but it's, only 8 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. And then Zacchaeus gets in space and does what he does by just attacking, and this is going to be a constant theme for them of yards after catch. And the Lions led the NFL last year in yards after catch. And there's a reason for that, because the offense is designed to get playmakers in space and then let them do the rest. And that's ultimately going to take all this sort of weight off Caleb's shoulders to not have to make all the explosive plays happen by himself. And so we've talked about that before, but think of the phrase catch and knife. And then we're also today on the Take the North coining the QB protection program. You down with QBPP? Yeah, you know me. We're going to start adding people to that list on the regular. Maybe we'll even call them out here on the podcast. We'll take their Twitter handles and say, we've got another member of QBPP, and we'll set up the QBPP. The QBPP.
You know what? OPP is just so much easier. You know what I mean? And I'm more down with that than anything, really, to be honest with you.
Or we could call it the Caleb Protection Program, and then it's CPP.
Yeah. The only problem with this is then that would, well, maybe not. I was going to say it would require us to have to read through all those tweets, because sometimes there are days when I just don't want to read the feedback, and then I regret when I do. So that's what Adam Studzinski is here for.
I literally had the thought on Tuesday morning about my live game tweets being uncommentable, just closing them off the comment.
That's a good idea.
I'm going to give you my thoughts from the press box, but I don't need the noise. I don't need the smoke. I don't need all the backlash to things that are completely tame and innocuous. And so I'll play around with that thought here before we get to week 1, see where it lands. But QBPP, we're not going to let you do it without a little call out.
We are down with QBPP here on TTN, the Take the North podcast. And we thank you all for being here for it. For Dan Wiederer, now of The Athletic. For Adam Studzinski, our executive producer on Take the North. I am Mark Grote saying thank you for watching and listening to Take the North.
Great talk. See you out there.